New developments. The attorney for the man who hit and killed a Lake Mills firefighter on New Year's Eve says his client's blood alcohol content was under the legal limit.
Plus, we hear from Police Chief Mike Koval what he says are some of the department's top focuses in 2019.
And come Tuesday, Governor Walker will no longer be a public employee. His plans and what he says is next for him, straight ahead.
This is News 3 at 6.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We have new developments in the death of a Lake Mills fire captain.
Today, records confirm the suspect in the case, 28-year-old Samuel Kramers, had a blood alcohol level below the legal limit at the time of that crash. Our Keely Arthur joins us now to explain. Keely?
28-year-old Samuel Kramers is facing a tentative charge of homicide by drunk driving, but his lawyer says his client blew below the legal limit of .08 during an on-scene breathalyzer test. A surprising development in the death of Lake Mills fire captain Chris Truman.
Certainly a tragedy, and the question is going to be whether or not this is criminal or not.
Samuel Kramers appears in person with
Samuel Kramers made his first appearance in court Thursday on a tentative charge of homicide by intoxicated use of a vehicle. Today, his lawyer telling us off camera his client blew below the legal limit of .08 at .079. Legal expert and former assistant district attorney Tim Verhoff says this complicates things.
I don't think this is the easiest case in the world for the prosecution.
Kramers hit and killed fire captain Chris Truman, who had exited his vehicle to help a stranded driver. While technically below the legal limit at the time of the breathalyzer test, Dane County prosecutors could still prove Kramers was under the influence.
If my alcohol concentration is an 0.78, we'll say, it's close to 0.8, but not an 0.8. But I can't complete the field sobriety test because I am too impaired. They couldn't charge me, and they can get a conviction on an impairment charge.
A blood test, which is at the state crime lab and should be back in a few weeks, will provide more information, as will reconstruction of the accident, which took place on a snowy night on the Beltline. All factors Verhoff says to consider in this case.
The prosecution always gets to decide whether they're going to issue the charge, and then they have to prove it.
And the Dane County District Attorney's Office has not formally charged Kramers. Kramers' lawyer Sean O'Connell says this could very well have been just a bad roads accident, considering the snowy weather that night.
Keely Arthur reporting tonight. Keely, thank you.
Meanwhile, two businesses in Lake Mills will hold fundraising events in honor of Captain Truman. The Lake Mills Market grocery store has started a donation drive in honor of him, and the Culvers in Lake Mills will be holding a fundraiser on Tuesday. The restaurant said it will donate 10% of sales to the Lake Mills Fire Department. A man accused of killing a beloved Madison bus driver in a fiery crash last summer enters a no-contest plea in court. 22-year-old Gavin Viam is charged with homicide by intoxicated use of a vehicle. The crash happened last June at the intersection of Blair Street and John Nolan Drive. Court documents say Viam hit a vehicle driven by 45-year-old Diano McCullough as he was stopped at a red light. Viam was high on LSD. Reconstructionist indicated he was going 60 miles per hour in a 25 zone. He now faces 25 years in prison.
Police Chief Mike Koval says juvenile crime and officer retention and recruitment will be focuses in the new year for the Madison PD. He spoke about those issues today on News 3 this morning.
We've got to continue to show people the nobility of service, that if anybody could do this job, anybody would, I suppose. And I think that there's a challenge in being able to respond to these kinds of social service issues and things like that that the police are being asked to do. So we want to look for the right individuals, and it can't be so much an emphasis on the quantity as well as the quality of the people that ultimately take this pledge.
The police department also has a new 2019 survey available for anyone to take. They want to know what you think the department is doing well and what you think needs to be improved in the new year. You can find it at cityofmadison.com/police. Let's get a first look at our first alert forecast now. Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti joining us on the backyard patio. Still feels nice out there, doesn't it, Gary?
Certainly does. And temperatures are above freezing, so the snow continues to melt behind me. Let's start out by taking a look at the visible cloud track. You can see southern Wisconsin still has a little bit of snow on the ground, but not much. That continues to shrink. Just a few mid and high level clouds passing to our north. No precipitation anywhere around southern Wisconsin right now. Skies may turn partly cloudy overnight. We could see some areas of fog, but that'll be a little ways down the road. Low temperatures this morning start out very mild. Here in Madison, we were at 29 degrees. Waukesha was at 30. Milwaukee stayed above freezing at 34. Elsewhere, temperatures were generally in the 20s to upper teens. Look at the high temperatures for today. Milwaukee, 50 degrees. Madison, 46. La Crosse, 47 degrees. So very mild across all of southern Wisconsin. Current temperatures are still above freezing for the most part. Waukesha right now down to 30 degrees, but everybody else either at or above the freezing mark. And by tomorrow morning, temperatures only drop into the upper 20s. Probably see some areas of fog form, but that will lift quickly. Look for sunny skies for tomorrow. Our high temperature very mild again at 44. That's your first alert forecast.
Gary, thank you. A Wausau babysitter has officially been charged in the death of a 2-month-old baby. 28-year-old Marissa Teetsort is facing charges of first-degree intentional homicide. The complaint released today says after the boy's death in October, she put him in a snowsuit and car seat and let his mother pick him up without telling her the child was dead. Investigators say he died of blunt force head injuries. Teetsort, who is pregnant with her 6th child, also faces child abuse charges involving an 11-month-old girl in her care.
Mayor Paul Soglin is proposing a deal that would replace Beitler Real Estate as the developer of a portion of the Judge Doyle Square project. The long and expensive project was put on hold in November due to a disagreement with the developer. To restart the project, the mayor proposed splitting the development in half between Beitler and another developer and eliminating any ongoing litigation. However, the city would need to pay the company an additional $700,000 to regain the rights to that second half. Well, come Tuesday, it will be the first time in 25 years Scott Walker will not be in public office.
He says he's not ruling out running for office again, though, saying at age 51 he has plenty of time. Amanda Quintana here with more on the governor's future plans. Amanda?
Yes, well, as for another run for governor, he will never say never to that. But he says it's likely Republicans will want a new face with a new perspective, and he won't run for president in 2 years. He says he turned down a few offers to be part of the Trump administration because they just weren't the right fit. But he is more interested in a U.S. Senate position, possibly in 2022, saying if fellow Republicans like Rick Scott, Florida's governor, joining the U.S. Senate this month, can make positive change together.
If the two of my friends there say that you can actually get something done, and maybe a group of us could do something to shift power back to places like Wisconsin, I'd be very interested.
For now, he will live in downtown Milwaukee. His immediate plans are to hit the speaking circuit, specifically talking about the benefits of limited government. Reason why he says the current government shutdown is not a problem and should be shut down more since, quote, the federal government creates more problems than it solves, end quote. Walker says he did already leave a letter for incoming Governor Tony Evers. It includes some of the best advice he's gotten from governors ahead of him and some of the things that he's learned over these last 8 years.
All right, yeah, inauguration on Monday. Amanda Quintana. Amanda, thank you.
Thanks.
A scary situation yesterday for folks in a neighborhood in Weston, that's near Wausau. A semi-truck crashed into several homes there. Amazingly, just one minor injury was reported. Among the victims, a woman who was sleeping in her bedroom when the semi crashed into the room. Authorities say the truck was driving on a nearby state highway when it left the road and hit the homes. So far, there are no reports of any arrests. Still ahead at 6, Hy-Vee pharmacies are changing how it handles certain prescriptions as a way to help combat the opioid crisis.
Plus, after nearly 90 years in business, a local family-owned deli is closing up shop for good. We'll hear from the owner next. Hy-Vee Pharmacy changing its controlled substance prescription policy. It's an effort to help combat the national opioid epidemic. The store will no longer allow a subsequent fill of a Schedule II controlled substance or a refill of a Schedule III or IV controlled substance more than 3 days early without authorization from a prescriber.
It's going to help prevent excess medication being in people's homes that isn't needed, preventing somebody from picking up a prescription and then a couple days later finding out that the dose changed and they no longer need it, and now they have excess medication at home that needs to somehow get disposed of.
Hy-Vee pharmacies will also no longer accept good RX coupons for controlled substance prescriptions. A nearly centuries-old family business with strong ties in Madison is closing for good.
Founded in 1932, Jacobson Brothers Meats and Deli at one point had 9 locations in the area. Now it is down to 3, soon to be 0. Our Madeline O'Neill tells us why.
It's a strong family business.
For decades, Mark Jacobson has made sure the customers who come in his deli stores are taken care of.
Everybody I want to leave happy.
For the many decades before he took over,
I'm sure my father was very proud.
that was the job of his family who came before him.
My great-grandfather came over from Norway and started his butcher shop. Thousands and thousands of pounds worth.
It's not just fresh meat at Jacobson Brothers Meats and Deli.
I make it with these 2 hands.
It's a place perhaps best known for its famous potato salad, where customers tend to leave happy. It's also a place its owner is sad to leave.
Closing down is never fun.
Jacobson is preparing to close this Stoughton location along with the delis in Sun Prairie and Madison.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for me. I haven't had an interview since I graduated from college in 1988.
Even tougher
Let's do 1.5 pounds.
will be the customers he leaves behind.
We have a couple here in Stoughton that come in and bring us a box of pastries from the bakery down the road every single Saturday. So those type of customers it's going to be difficult to not see them anymore.
Sad and disappointed.
Regulars like John Pitus will miss all that a local shop can offer.
You know, you get a little bit more of a personal feel. You know, the same person's behind the counter.
Workers like Kenneth Gilmore,
I get to interact with people.
who is grateful for all that he learned at Jacobson Brothers in his 7 years.
That's why I'm kind of sad that it's closing.
These are bacon wrapped filet mignon.
Jacobson says it's big chain stores
Competition is probably a big one.
that are taking a hefty cut out of his business.
I don't know what you can do about it. You know, there's nothing you can do about it.
It's no potato salad, but as Jacobson prepares to move on,
It's going to be hard to step down.
he can still leave customers with this.
Thank you for all of your support,
In Stoughton,
and I'm sorry to say goodbye, but unfortunately, we just couldn't survive any longer.
Madeline O'Neill, WISC News 3.
The deli's last day at all 3 locations will be January 31st.
Always tough to lose those local, long-time businesses. Still ahead tonight, coming up in sports, Badger basketball team looking for a chance to bounce back after back-to-back tough losses, including that one last night against the Gophers.
But first, our gradual warm-up continues into the weekend. Gary will have our extended forecast when we come back. Warm December weather in Wisconsin has delayed the production of ice castles on Lake Geneva. Workers had hoped to open the winter wonderland at the start of the new year, but higher temperatures and rain put a damper on their plans. Visit Lake Geneva's target opening date was set for January 10th, but warm weekend weather could push that back.
And Gary joins us now with the latest on the forecast, and we were still seeing temperatures, what, in the mid-40s over in Milwaukee, right, Gary?
Yeah, they were actually close to 50 degrees today, and they didn't drop below freezing last night. So, yeah, we continue to melt the snow and ice. Let's start out by taking a look at the snow cover across the Midwest. And you can see while most of Wisconsin has at least a little bit of snow on the ground, it's only the far northern parts of the state where there's more than a few inches that are on the ground. Now, taking a look at the computer models, and this is through next Sunday at almost midnight. And you can see over the next 10 days, maybe a ½ inch of snow, and this will be mainly in Friday and Saturday of next week around here. There could be some lake effect snows that could bring heavier snows up in the northern portions of Wisconsin. The European computer model, pretty much the same story. Up to the north, maybe, you know, another 6 to 12 inches of snow, mainly from lake effect snow off of Lake Superior. The southern part of the state, very little snow is expected. So we'll lose most of what we have and not add very much to what we've got on the ground now. High temperatures over the next week tell a story. Mid-40s for tomorrow, upper 30s with more clouds on Sunday, back to the mid-40s on Monday with rain. That'll also help to melt some of the snow. Temperatures a little colder for the second half of next week, but still well above the average high of 26. Live view from the Edgewater Sky Cam in downtown Madison. Skies are mostly clear this evening, and it's pretty comfortable out here. Our high today, 46. That's 20 degrees above average. Low temperature of 29. Not only 17 degrees above normal, but that's also 3 degrees above our average high temperature for this time of year. We're at 36 now. Skies are mostly clear. The air is calm. Humidity at 73%. Might see some areas of fog because we've melted some of the snow today. That's added a little moisture to the air. Temperatures statewide are in the 30s, although Green Bay has dropped to 29 degrees. But for the most part, we're going to see temperatures stay in the upper 20s to around 30 overnight. Upper level winds continue from the west as the northern branch of the jet stream brings mild Pacific air to the northern half of the country. The subtropical jet stream brings a storm system through the southeastern and eastern portions of the nation, but misses us to the south. So relatively dry weather, relatively mild weather continues. That's very typical for an El Nino weather pattern. High pressure is located across Nebraska. That'll keep our weather quiet for much of the weekend. Current temperatures, a few places in northern Minnesota are in the upper 20s. Elsewhere, everybody is in the 30s and 40s. And as we look at future track, you can see that southern storm passing us by to the south and east. We'll look for maybe a little bit of fog overnight and then sunny skies for the day tomorrow with high temperatures in the middle 40s. Now, a bank of clouds moves in tomorrow night into Sunday. That is the next weather system develops out to the west. A cold front drops southward. So that'll drop high temperatures on Sunday into the upper 30s. But you can see precipitation really doesn't start to break out until late Sunday afternoon to our west. We could see it in a mixture of rain, snow, maybe a little bit of freezing rain. But eventually on Monday, that changes over to all rain before it gradually comes to an end late in the day. So our forecast for tonight calls for a low temperature of 28 degrees with some areas of fog. So any early morning fog will give way to sunny skies tomorrow. It'll be very mild with a high of 44. Future track, you can see just a little bit of fog and some clouds developing overnight with lows in the upper 20s. That's gone for tomorrow. Sunny skies, high temperatures mid-40s. As that cold front starts to drop in from the north tomorrow night, clouds move in. Temperatures drop to the middle 20s. Sunday will be mostly cloudy but dry during the day with highs in the mid to upper 30s. And then as we head into Sunday night and Monday, that's when we'll see some precipitation breakout. Again, could be some rain and snow, maybe even a little light freezing rain north of Madison on Sunday evening, changing to rain on Monday, then dry weather with some chances for light snow at the end of next week, but not very much expected.
Well, undefeated East hosting La Follette tonight on the boys' high school hardwood. Lancers, though, they've won 5 in a row. We've got a live report coming up for our Prep Mania game of the week. That's next in sports. Well, we are settling tonight with some Friday night hoops. We've got a big one in the Big 8. East putting its undefeated record to the test, hosting a La Follette team. They're not too bad themselves. Jay Wilson joins us live from East High School with more from our Prep Mania Game of the Week. Good evening, Jay.
Hi, good evening, Melissa, and hello, everyone. And boy, you talk about a great game, at least before the game is played. East is undefeated. They're ranked #1 in the state. They're 7-0 in the Big 8. La Follette is 6-1, and lots of bragging rights for East Side pride on the line as well. And nobody knows about that better than John Boyle. He's back with us for another season. And John, you coached here at East against some really good La Follette teams. This almost feels like we're going back in time tonight.
Yeah, this rivalry has always been one of the premier rivalries in the state of Wisconsin, I think. And rivalries aren't quite what they used to be, Jay, but this was always at the top of the list. And you throw in the fact that East is ranked #1, La Follette is in second place in the Big 8, and it's halftime of the sophomore game. The joint is already packed already. It's just like the old days. This is fun just to be here.
East, as you said, ranked #1. What makes the Pergolers stand in such high regard?
I think what you have with East is one of the better defensive teams that we've seen around here for a long time. I think they're very adequate offensively, but I think from a defensive standpoint, I don't remember seeing a better defensive team in a long, long time.
Yeah. And what's interesting is La Follette can really score points. They're averaging 80 a game. East gives up an average of 52 a game. We'll see what wins out tonight. East and La Follette, channel3000.com, 7:15 p.m. We hope we'll see you then. Melissa, back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you, Jay. Looking forward to it. Well, it's not a good season for the border battle. The Badgers losing to the Gophers last night at the Kohl Center. It's the first back-to-back loss of the season because Wisconsin also lost to Western Kentucky last Saturday. A lot of problems for the team yesterday. Ethan Happ and Nate Reavers were the only players that scored in double digits. The Badgers as a whole shooting 41% and only made 7 of 17 free throws. And for a team that prides itself on not turning the ball over, happened quite a bit last night and when it mattered the most.
Or decisions that need to be better, and those, when you're in that position, you're in a 2-possession game, and we're right there. You can't have that, those type of decisions and empty possessions.
You've heard Coach Gard talk about it 100 times about not turning the ball over. It should be a staple here. So it's very uncharacteristic as a team, especially down the stretch when stuff tightens up. That's not what we're about and what we usually do, but it happened and we got to move on.
To some happier basketball news, the Bucks will go for their 5th win in a row tonight when they host a mediocre Hawks squad. They're starting the second half of a 6-game homestand tonight. They'll be led by Giannis yet again, averaging some ridiculous numbers there, good enough for the title of Eastern Conference Player of the Month. Tip-off at 7:30. The Packers adding yet another name to their lengthy list of interview candidates. Former Dolphins head coach Adam Gase will reportedly throw his name into the hat. As for the rest of the NFL, tomorrow will feature the Colts visiting former Badger standout J.J. Watt and the Texans at 3:35, followed by the NFC wildcard matchup between the Seahawks and Cowboys. On Sunday, the Chargers visiting the Ravens for the AFC matchup. That game you can watch right here at 12:05 on WISC-TV, followed by the Eagles and Bears, which I'm sure a lot of people around here will be tuning into to maybe see the demise of the Bears. I don't really know.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. I just heard that. I just heard that. No offense.
I don't even follow the Bears as much as I do the Cubs, and those are fighting words. Well, let's take a look at our current temperatures. They are pretty mild. Right now, 36 degrees in Madison. Temperatures right now as warm as 41 in Milwaukee. And tomorrow, look for a high of 44 after some early morning fog. Upper 30s on Sunday with cloudy skies. Rain and snow Sunday night, changing to rain by Monday morning. Monday, windy with some rain, high 44. A little colder for the second half of next week, but just some light snow Friday and Saturday. Shouldn't amount to very much.
All right, Gary, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us tonight for News 3 at 6.
Enjoy your evening, and we'll see you back here at 10.
Download the new Channel 3000 app and get alerted on your mobile device the minute news breaks. Wherever you go, be the first to know with Channel 3000.